And while we are tracking the latest from the United States, another issue is worth mentioning, that of racism, rooted in discrimination and divide as much in present as in the past. Back in May, US President Donald Trump, remember, offered refugee status to the minority white Afrikaner community in South Africa. Trump's administration claimed that this community were victims of discrimination and quote-unquote genocide, a claim that was rejected by the government of Pretoria. At a press briefing, meanwhile, the South African foreign minister called out the US Refugee Programme for its preferential treatment of Afrikaners in South Africa to enter the United States. He went a step further to call it Apartheid 2.0. Listen in.
You know, with our history of our country, a preferential treatment of a particular privileged group, the Afrikaners, who are not running away from any genocide in this country, is definitely Apartheid 2.0.
And now, after taking office in January, Trump essentially halted refugee arrivals in the US. However, he made an exception for the Afrikaners. And this is despite Pretoria saying that they do not face persecution. In fact, quite ironically, Afrikaner-led governments legalized the race-based apartheid system that denied South Africa's black majority political and economic rights until 1994, when it was voted out. Now, in May, a group of around 50 Afrikaners were flown to America on a chartered plane, and since then, smaller groups have followed suit. And now the US is reportedly applying for visas for around 30 people from an NGO based in Kenya to come to South Africa to fast-track the processing of African applications for US resettlement. Just for context here, who are the Afrikaners? They are a unique cultural group basically descending from mixed-race European settlers in South Africa. By profession, they are mostly farmers, and history has it they settled in South Africa. They forced black people to leave their land, reportedly. And relations between America and South Africa have nosedived since Trump 2.0, and the signs were evident. In March, Pretoria's ambassador was expelled. Later, Trump imposed a 30% tariff on exports from South Africa, remember, which has been negotiating for a reduction to avoid potential job losses. If that was not all, remember in May, Trump ambushed South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa with his claims of white genocide, quote-unquote, being committed against white farmers in South Africa. Claims which a judge termed baseless and even imaginary. However, for South Africa, what's even more pressing than tariffs is the sheer discrimination and white privilege that the community is confronted with. Even as South African laws seek to promote black-owned businesses and farmlands, they can only go so far, which then raises serious questions on the human rights situation of the native South African community, both in the region and across the world.